This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. I'm Kate Sharon. During the pandemic, cities and towns across the state received hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funds meant to both keep their public services afloat and deliver game-changing projects for their residents. Now the clock is ticking to make sure each of those dollars have a purpose. As a spending deadline looms, Inside Indiana Business is highlighting how 3 Indiana cities are using up those dollars, according to city government minutes, meetings, and reports. Cities have focused their efforts on public good projects like water main extensions, city-owned infrastructure, rental support, and green space creation that often have trouble receiving financial support and have expensive price tags. Terre Haute Mayor Brandon Sockbun at a February 1st meeting.
These funds, although passed, have not been distributed yet. This shows the need to obligate these dollars sooner than later as we get towards that December deadline. There's a very long administrative process and audit process and close conversations to make sure that we responsibly spend these dollars, turn in our receipts, and follow the processes set by the state and federal government.
The American Rescue Plan Act was a widespread, layered relief plan to support communities on a granular scale during the pandemic, as well as stimulus checks and small business grants. The state and local fiscal recovery funds program dispersed $350 billion to state and local governments in 2021. By the end of the year, local governments need to obligate how the remaining funds will be used, which essentially means the money needs to be binding through a contract, award, or other transaction. After those funds are funneled to a line item, those dollars will need to be spent by either September or December 2026, depending on the use. If either deadline is not met, the balance must be returned to the federal government. The president of the University of Southern Indiana announced Wednesday he is leaving for a new position on the West Coast. Ron Rochon, who became USI's 4th president in 2018, is leaving to become president of California State University, Fullerton, beginning in July. Rochon's final day at USI will be July 22nd. He said the university's board of trustees will conduct a public meeting to appoint an interim president before his departure. Rochon came to USI as provost in 2010 after serving as dean of the School of Education and associate vice president for teacher education at Buffalo State College in New York. Every county in Indiana seems to have signed on to a state effort to provide $150 million in enhanced funding for public health departments in the coming year in exchange for providing core public health services. The Indiana Capital Chronicle called 6 holdout counties who opted out of the program in 2024, each of which will be participating in the 2025 cohort. Barring any changes to the 86 counties who participated last year, every county will get additional funding from the Indiana Department of Health's Health First Indiana program. In 2022, the General Assembly earmarked $225 million for a 2-year program to shore up the state's beleaguered public health program. Prior to the investment, counties spent an average of $55 per resident for public health, far below the national average of $91, though totals range from $83 to $1.25 per Hoosier depending on their county of residence. From the #1 source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Southeast Indiana, your bold future starts here. IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the IEDC invite you to Engage Southern Indiana, New Albany, May 1st, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. Connect with fellow business and community leaders, discover programs aligned to your region's unique needs, and walk away with bold new thinking for Southeast Indiana's growth. RSVP now at ibj.com/engage.
Goodwill Industries of Michiana expects to open its new facility in Elkhart's Neighborhood Opportunity Hub by early 2025. The project will house most of the not-for-profit services in the city under one roof. Located in the Woodland Crossing Shopping Center, formerly known as Pierre Morin Mall, Goodwill partnered with Heart City Health to purchase the abandoned Sears building. Heart City plans to open a comprehensive health facility on its side of the building, including an urgent care. Heart City Health and Goodwill will split the building. Elkhart Mayor Rod Robertson.
So that's the real thrust of what we're defining as an opportunity hub for the entire area to be able to use as a focal point for services and for resource information. And that hopefully will help grow the skill strength, the educational acumen in that area as well. And so we're pretty excited about what this can become.
Officials broke ground on the 109,000 square foot building last month. The federal government will pay out $7.6 million to landowners along the Nickel Plate Trail, formerly the Nickel Plate Railroad, to settle a nearly 6-year-old legal fight over property, Kansas City, Missouri-based law firm Stewart Wald & Smith announced Tuesday. The settlement involves 168 property owners along more than 20 miles of the Nickel Plate Trail, just south of East 16th Street in Indianapolis to just west of the White River in Noblesville. Stewart Wald & Smith, which specializes in rail-to-trails litigation, filed multiple suits against the federal government in 2018 on behalf of the landowners, alleging the owners weren't compensated for their property beneath the tracks when the railroad was converted to a trail. The Purdue for Life Foundation will soon launch a national search for its next CEO. The foundation's current CEO, Matt Folk, announced this week he is stepping down to focus on the growth of Purdue University's new Indianapolis campus. The university said Folk will serve as ambassador for Purdue in Indianapolis after he steps down as CEO. However, he will remain in his current role until his successor starts. The foundation was created through the merger of the Purdue Alumni Association and the University Development Office with the goal of supporting the university through, quote, coordinated engagement with alumni, donors, and fans. Indiana State Comptroller Elise Nishala this week launched her first State Comptroller Advisory Council. The council, comprised of local government officials from throughout the state, is designed to provide feedback to enhance the local government services provided by Nishala's office. The 14 members of the council will serve 2-year terms. Nishala said the council will further relationships between her office and local units statewide. Fort Wayne Mayor Sharon Tucker is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond, available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Kate Sharon for Inside Indiana Business, Radio on Demand.